Hey, it's your boy Sean Land, property and finance expert. Welcome to another episode on Take a Seat. This is a channel that we've created to foster and inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs in property, finance, and investing. Most importantly, we move you away from a fixed mindset into a growth mindset. I'm somebody who's come from a self-employed background, working with my father in his corner shop. I've worked in places like McDonald's, bought my first house at 21, and reached millionaire status by 26. Today I'm 36 and I have a £10 million property portfolio. I conversate with businessmen and find out the thought processes to see how they've made their money. Last week we had Jason Patterson. He's somebody who started off in Sainsbury's and made it to £6 million, a property portfolio made up of flats. He shared all of his gems. So if you haven't seen that, check the last episode because he's dropped some really good content in that. Today, I have a guest who doesn't need any introduction. You guys have asked me who this gentleman is, so I've come to find out. Welcome on the show, Samuel Leeds.
Real pleasure, buddy, and congrats on what you've done. You know, nothing but respect for that.
Yes, brilliant. Well, thank you for making today happen. And also, thank you for inviting us to your beautiful house.
You're welcome, thanks for coming.
Yes, so we want to find out who Samuel Leeds is. So I want to basically find out where you've started, where you've gone, and where you're going.
Well, similar to yourself, I started from, with very little. I didn't work at McDonald's, but I did used to clean snooker tables. That was like my first ever job. Paper rounds as a kid, hustle. My parents split up when I was 7 years old. My mum was a mobile hairdresser. My dad, growing up, was a gardener. He then became an entertainer. He used to do like children's magic shows and discos and stuff. And he wanted me to come work for him, which I did for a little bit. But I remember just thinking, is this what happens when you fail in school? Getting paid £25 a day, and I had to work on Sundays. I wanted to go to church, and that was when I started Googling and stuff, how to make money, and always a bit entrepreneurial. And I came across some books. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I read Richard Branson's stuff, and Richard Branson's got dyslexia, which I really related to because in school I was diagnosed with all kinds of stuff. I used to sit on a special needs desk at school, failed miserably in school. I've got ADHD. So the fact that I saw people like Richard Branson in my country, in the UK, who was also not good academically, being a billionaire, it kind of gave me the belief, as a kid. And that was when I started thinking I want to start doing things bigger. I want to really be an investor, a business owner.
So can I just ask, what sparked you going onto this entrepreneurial route in terms of your parents split up at 7?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who come from broken homes. How did that impact and affect you, your parents splitting up? Did you have to go to 2 different houses?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite hard because it was a pretty nasty divorce. So I lived with my mum mostly, but I'd go and stay at my dad's at the weekends and go see him on Tuesday night. And their outlook on life is quite different.
Did you see that as a benefit to yourself because you saw 2 different versions of life?
I think everything is a benefit if you flip the cards. You can use anything as an excuse. There was a social experiment where there was a guy who used to beat his kids. He had 2 kids, and used to drink alcoholic, beat his kids. One of them went up to be a beater, an alcoholic. The other one lived a really good life, never touched alcohol, really loving husband. And they asked them both, why is it that you beat your kids, and why are you? He said, because my dad was that way.
Yes.
Why are you an alcoholic? My dad was that way. When they asked the other one, how is it? Why don't you drink anything? Why are you such a lover? Oh, well, because my dad used to beat us, and he was so. No matter what happens in your life, whether you're from a good family, bad family, mixed, whatever it is, you can always flip the cards on that and use that as a reason to succeed. And I think that's kind of what I did. I'm not saying I was beaten. My parents were great.
Yes.
But I think no matter what happens, you can always use that as your driving force. At school, they told me, I was stupid. You can either say, okay, I'm stupid, or you can use that as motivation to say, actually, let me prove to myself and to the world what I can do. And now I make more money than all of my teachers put together times 10.
Is there anyone who influenced your direction at all? Because yes, you can take a bad attitude or a good attitude. You could be on a train, going to McDonald's, for example. someone throws a coffee over you and you could be the angriest person, say, I hate my job anyway, and I've got this coffee all over me and I'm not happy right now, and why did this happen to me, and your day gets worse. Or you could say, well, someone's dropped coffee on me, but I'm ready to work today, and this guy's got a folder in his hand saying property, and I want to learn about property. He owes me something right now by throwing a coffee. Is there something that went into your thought process that you said, right, I'm going to take this approach where I'm going to be successful, rather than the world's against me already?
Yeah, I think it was the fact that inside me, I felt that there was a fire, and I wanted to do something great. I wanted to be good at something. I wanted to be respected. I wanted to be successful, but I was rubbish at everything. I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't good with the girls. I wasn't intelligent. I wasn't and I was thinking, well, so when I kind of came across entrepreneurship and business, and I started reading the books and going to the seminars, and people were like, yeah, you can do this, people took me serious. I just thought maybe this is the thing that I can be good at. And as it happens, making money is quite an important thing. And it's the only thing I'm good at. You know, I'm very good at business. I'm very bad. Even today, I don't know how to tie my shoelaces, bro. Literally, that's why you'll see me wearing pumps. I'm not saying I can't, but it's
Yes.
so much effort and so confusing.
Yes.
So it's like, find what you're good at.
That's not a bad thing, you know, because Einstein actually says that if you realize how little time you have on this planet, you wouldn't even buy shoes with shoelaces,
Right.
because we have a
I
limited
don't.
time.
If my wife makes me buy shoes with shoelaces, because she does choose what I wear as well.
Okay.
My wife chooses because I can't be thinking about what I'm not good at fashion. I can't be giving it any thought at all. I don't want to be thinking about what should I wear today. So my wife chooses what I wear, and sometimes she says, you should wear trainers with shoelaces. I say that's fine as long as the shoelaces. She gets these they're like elastic rubber shoelaces,
Right.
where they look like they're shoelaces, but they're not.
Okay.
So anyway, you should check them out. So they look like they're shoelaces, but if you see me wearing shoelaces, they're not shoelaces.
They're not shoelaces.
No, they're not.
Okay. So you've got a few conditions that you've just spoke about. Is it ADHD?
ADHD and dyslexia.
So how do you manage that? Because there might be people out there who've got conditions and say, well, I'm not going to be good at anything, so let me just give up now.
Well, for me, ADHD, I don't even know exactly what it even is. I've been diagnosed with it. It's like short attention span.
Yes.
Can't really focus on too much, but that's okay because in business you need to be so focused.
Tunnel visioned.
Tunnel vision, right? I can't sit in a room where there's meeting. I get so bored. If I'm in a boardroom meeting, I don't want it. I've made all of our boardroom meetings, all of the staff, because I've got 46 members of staff. It has to be a standing up boardroom meeting. Because if it's sat down,
Yes.
it drags on too long and I'll be losing my
Yes.
attention. So it's like, right, we're all stood up. In other words, get to the point, because if
Yes.
everyone's having to stand and there ain't no chairs in the room, then it needs to happen quickly.
Yes.
So I don't think that's a bad thing. In business, things are about
That's
speed
it.
sells.
Yes.
Everyone wants fast things.
Yes.
And I don't think it's, and being dyslexic, I did struggle. But now I've written 7 best-selling books.
Yes.
Which
Wow.
I wrote myself.
Amazing.
So that was something that I just had to really work with. I obviously have to get people to proofread it and change the mistakes. But no, I don't really think it's a hindrance. I think it's just something that you just got to accept. Accept who you are, accept your strengths, accept your weaknesses, and get people around you. If I'm not good at something, I'll get someone in my business that can do it. Like I was saying to you earlier, you asking me about building works and
Yes.
stuff. Like my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, is a chartered cost manager, quantity surveyor. So he works full time in our property business. So it's like having good people in your business. He's a very
Yes.
detailed person. You need good people in your business. As an entrepreneur, you need to be the big picture
Yes.
person, the person that's looking at the big picture.
You've got the infrastructure and you
Yeah.
push the right peoples in the right
Exactly.
places to do all the complicated stuff.
Yeah.
You don't need to spend 7 to 10 years of your life re-educating yourself on an industry when you can just put the right person there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how do you cost up a project in terms of when you're putting all the puzzles, all the pieces of the puzzle together, such as, how much is the build cost, material cost, what's going to be the end value? How do you cost something up to know
Yeah,
it's going to
well,
work?
I mean, that's 2 questions. If I'm doing a project, there's 3 prices. There's the purchase price, buying it for as cheap as you possibly can.
Yeah.
I'm very good at negotiating and how to get a good deal. Second is how much is it going to cost? Like you said, costing up the materials. I'm pretty good at that. I did work on a building site for a couple of months.
Okay.
To give me an idea. I'm also a plasterer.
Right.
So I learned how to plaster.
Can you still plaster?
Listen, I can. I wouldn't say I'm great, but I can.
Right, I can mix plaster. Should we have a...
No, I actually had a business, a plastering company. It's one of my early companies.
Okay.
So I'm pretty good, and with experience as well. I can walk into a project, and I know how much things cost because I'm always having to get stuff. So I know a fire door is £90,
Yes.
a kitchen's this. So I've got a pretty good idea.
Rough
but what I'll
figures.
do is I'll go in, I'll cost it up, and I'm pretty good. But then I'll put my offer forward, and then before we buy it, I'll send my brother in, who is a chartered cost manager, who will go in and then he'll give me the exact. Usually we're pretty on point.
Right.
If I've missed something,
Yes.
he'll pick it up. It very rarely happens, but it does happen. And then the end value, again, I'm very good at working out end values, because this is the business.
Yes.
If you don't know how to work out the end value,
You're in the wrong game.
you're in the wrong game. So it's like, I know how to do that. I'm pretty good at that. I've mastered my craft. So, working out square footage, like for likes, comparables, speaking to agents, understanding the area, understanding the supply, the demand. I'm pretty good at that. So I'm bad at tying my shoelaces, and I'm bad at lots of stuff. When it comes to those things you talk about,
Yes.
I'm pretty good.
Brilliant. All right, so Sam, let's take you a little bit back. You're 16 now, you've just left school. You've realised your strengths are not in education in terms of, reading, writing, etc. You're more hands-on. What approach do you take for the next few years?
Well, I was forced to work for my dad.
Forced.
I had to. I was forced.
Okay.
So I was working for my dad. I also had my plastering company.
What did you do with your dad?
I was doing children's magic shows and discos and entertainment, making balloon animals.
Was you good?
Yeah, I was alright.
So
I was okay. I was young. I was 16. I was working on market stalls as well, so I was like selling stuff for my dad on market stalls. Did a bit of gardening. Used to help my dad out doing gardening and stuff like that. So I was doing that. That came first, because my dad would be like, you got a show next week on Sunday, you have to do it. That's fine. I was also doing my plastering. I had a company called Pelsaw Plastering, which again was decent. So I was going out plastering houses.
How often did you used to get jobs with that?
Well, you know what? I started that business while I was at school, and I'd say I only ran it for maybe 2 years, but I'd say quite a lot, like a couple, 2 or 3 jobs a week. And I didn't even do the jobs myself often, because I quickly realised after setting up my plastering company that I wasn't a good plasterer. I remember one story. I remember one time I quoted a job, and it was a bit of a big job, and I was like, Matt, take it on and figure it out. And I had to plaster this whole room, including the ceilings. But on my course, they never taught me how to plaster ceilings. So I was there, and I was trying to plaster the ceiling, and it was all falling down on me. And I was like, oh man. And then a client came in, and she was just watching me, and it was just the most embarrassing. I was like 15, 16. So I'm trying to plaster the ceiling, it's all coming down on me. And you know what she said to me? She goes, "You're not a real plasterer, are you?" And I was just like, oh my goodness. So, I kind of threw myself in the deep end. So I started employing people, builders and plasterers, to come and work for me. I'd charge 200 quid for a day, and then I'd pay them 120 quid. I'd be making 80 quid. So I was doing that, which was making me a bit of money.
Yes.
Quite stressful. And then I was also cleaning the snooker tables, and I was doing that 1 day a week, which was...
What I'm hearing, Samuel, is that you wasn't afraid. You were walking in a room and you were plastering the ceiling and you didn't know how to do it, and they had a client watching you, but you still carried on, and that didn't even stop you. You said, well, I've hit a wall now, I can't do it, so how do I get it done? And you put the right person in the right place, brokered a fee in for yourself, and you're 15, 16. What gave you that mindset? What gave you that thought in your head to say, don't give up? Because a lot of people fall down and that's it, they stay on the floor.
I remember a situation that happened when I was at school, which I think was a bit of a turning point for me, because I used to do a lot of paper rounds, like a lot of paper rounds, and I'd save up money. I'd have my little Bradford and Bingley purple booklet, and I'd be like, every day I'd be going to the bank, I'd be putting in a few pennies, that I'd made that day, selling stuff, magic tricks and different sweets and whatever, I'd do my paper rounds, and it'd be building up. And I remember when I was about maybe 14, I had a couple £1,000 in my bank, and I showed one of my school teachers, Mrs. Dickinson, and I remember saying to her, I was in her class, not listening, couldn't do it, struggling, and I just said to her, I said, hey, look at my bank. Look at my bank. And I showed her, there was about £2,100 in there, and she went, that's more money than I've got. Yes. And it was like, oh, I'm good at this.
Yes.
I'm good at this.
Got it.
I know how to make money. So that was when I'm like, okay, maybe I need to do more. I was just obsessed with, for me, I didn't even care about the money. I didn't want the money. I wanted to show the score to be like, this is what I'm good at.
Right.
You're going to school and going to uni to learn how to get a job, to then get money, because that's the purpose of a job. I'm good at the end part. I'm good at making money. You might be better at school, which is going to get you into uni and get you into a job. I don't need a job. You're going to do that to get money. I can make money now. I'm at school. I'm 14. Look, man, $2 grand. How much you got in your bank?
Yes.
So that was like my self-esteem right there. I'm bad at everything, but I'm good at this. I know how to make money. So that was why I'm like, I can set up a business. I need to. And I went into night school. I was like 16, but I was going to a night school learning about business.
Okay.
And I got an MVQ level 3 in business studies, and I was just doing that. I didn't care about the qualification. I don't even know if I ripped it up properly. I don't care. I just literally was learning about how Disney run their business and how to systemize and how to understand market research and what business is. Business is finding out what people want and giving it to them and having things in place. And I was just like, yes. So just from a young age, And then after 3 months of working for my dad, I quit. I told my dad, I can't really do this anymore, because my dad was very much like, you have to do. That was the one thing. My plastering, I could send somebody else. My everything, I quit my snooker cleaning thing, but I was just like, I don't want to be tied down to having to trade my time for money. Reading Rich Dad Poor Dad's book, Robert Kiyosaki, which says, don't work for money, let money work for you.
Yeah.
I started going to property courses. I was probably the youngest person to ever join BNI, Business Networking International. I was a teenager, paid £1,000 from paper round money to join Business Networking International, and I didn't even have a business.
So what made you be attracted to property all of a sudden? Your mum's a hairdresser, your dad's a magician. What made you change the formula to say, I want to get into property?
Well, because when I was plastering and I was working on a building site, I was working for a guy called Mark, who was a builder, and he was saying to me, I do a bit of building, but I've also got my own properties. And we would convert in a property into a HMO, and I was the plasterer. Right. And he was saying to me, the client is going to be renting this out room by room. Look how much, and he had to calculate, and he was saying how much the owner was going to make. And I was thinking, why am I plastering the house when I could buy the house?
Right, so on that note, was that one of your first mentors?
He wasn't a mentor. In fact, he was a liar.
Okay.
Because he told me a lot of stuff about property that was so not true.
Right.
That was just his agenda. So for example, he said, I was like, man, I want to get a property. I want to get a HMO. So I went on a property course learning about HMOs. And I wanted to buy a house, finance it, however, rent it out room by room. And he told me the only area that HMOs work is Bourneville. Right. Which is where he lived. Because he wanted the work.
And how old was you at the time?
17.
So you were new to the game.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. I bought my first house in Bourneville.
Okay.
Because he told me that was the only area that worked.
You still have it?
Yeah, I still own it.
Okay. It's made you money?
It's made me money.
It's money. So we've got to give thanks for that then.
You have to, but the thing is, he told me stuff that wasn't. He also told me you cannot rent a room out without an ensuite. It won't work.
Okay.
And the reason he told me that was because he wanted to put the ensuite in.
Okay.
So a lot of people will advise you and will tell you stuff, but they'll have an agenda. Accountants, solicitors, builders. Builders will overcomplicate things.
Yes.
Everyone makes everything so complicated so that you pay them money. Accountants, you need to do this and this. No, it's simple. You can set a company up yourself for £12 on company's house. What am I paying you £500 to set a company up for?
Yes.
So everyone's giving you advice, and was giving me advice for their own ends. You know how many people used to pitch me? I'm a teenager at Business Networking International. We can help you with this, we can help you with this. We can set you up a website. It's going to be £3,000. It's going to be the best website ever. I'm like, nah, man, I'll set it up on Wix for free.
Yes. Sometimes we don't even mind paying, but we want to see the value. What value are you going to create for me? And you can get a website done for $250, or you can get it done for $3,000. And I've had $3,000 ones done, and the $250 ones are better. And I'm like, what did you actually do?
Website, all of my businesses, I've never paid anybody to do me a website until about 4 years ago. Up until 4 years ago, all of my landing pages, all of my lead magnets, all of my websites was created by me. The logo was created by me, and it was done for free. And it was done quickly. So a lot of people, and the reason people overcomplicate things is because, number one, they want you to pay them money, because if it's complicated, you're like, I'll just pay you to do it. Right? Even property investors, I see property investors, and they're like, it's really complicated, it's really hard. And then it's like, okay, so they run a deal sourcing company. They want to sell me a deal. They don't want me to go find a house myself direct, because they won't get paid. So it's like, actually, the most important thing is self-education. Jim Rohn says that formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. Because when you understand how to do stuff yourself, then you can do it, then you can pay people to do it for you, and you can replace yourself. Never pay someone to do something that you don't know how to do yourself, because then they can pull the wool over your eyes.
Brilliant. That's a very good piece of advice there, guys. I've had many people in the property game who try to, when they're trying to explain property to me, and we know it in the fast lane, they'll run rings around it and say, you've got to do this. And chucking in big words in there that you're thinking, hang on, you just need 3 people. You need an estate agent to find it, or a deal sourcer. You need a solicitor to speak all the legal language, and maybe an accountant to give you some of your SA 302s or your pay slips, etc. It's actually really that simple, just to get through.
Business is simple, people are complicated. Another reason people make things complicated is because they're trying to make themselves look clever. Because a lot of people, they're thinking, if I make it sound really complicated, then they'll be like, oh, wow, that person's clever. I hate that. And as a kid at school that didn't understand what was going on half the time, now, as you know, I'm a trainer. I have training programs.
Yes.
My job is to make things very simple, because it is.
Yes. So, Samuel, tell me about your first purchase. Now, I know you've done a few deals and you've put properties under other people's names, etc. But I want to know the first time you've made money from all these little deals, and how did you complete your first property deal under Samuel Leeds?
My first property deal under Samuel Leeds was in my personal name. Was a house in Bloxwich.
Okay.
Again, it's not easy because I started so young.
Yes.
It's not easy buying a house, getting a mortgage and everything as a teenager. So you are correct. To start with, I had to get joint ventures, guarantors, and. My first house, it was a house that I bought in Millfield Avenue in Bloxwich.
And how old was you?
I was like 19.
Okay, very young.
About 19.
Yes.
I bought it for 65,000, thereabouts, 67,000.
How much deposit did you need to get together for that?
I needed 13,000.
£13,000. Okay. And how did you get that 13 together?
So, I put an offer on the property before the money was there.
Right.
So I said, I offered to buy it. It was on the market for about 80,000. I said I'll buy it for 65. I didn't think they'd say yes, because when I was like 17, 18, I was just putting offers on loads of stuff.
Okay.
I didn't buy anything when I was 18.
Yeah.
So I put an offer forward, and they said yes. And then I was like, oh, okay, what happens now then? And they said, now we need your proof. Here's the 5 things they ask. Oh, you need your proof of funds.
Yeah.
Your solicitor's details, your mortgage in principle, correspondence address, and your photo ID. So I sent over all the stuff that I could, my photo ID and all that, but there was no funds. I had nothing. So they were like, we need your proof of funds. And listen, I don't want to get into trouble or anything telling the story, and this is certainly not advice, but as you asked, I borrowed the money from my brother for about 3 minutes. I screenshot the proof of funds, I sent it back to him immediately, and then I showed the agent, look, here's my money. So that's not right, and I'm not proud of it. But I had to do what I had to do to get the house off the market. Now I'm thinking, the house is off the market, it's going to take 2 or 3 months now for me to be able to get the money. Yeah. Make sense?
Yes.
So that was my first house. It was a small house. I still own it today. It's now worth about £150,000.
Okay.
Then I started doing option agreements. So my first option agreement, again, I was like 19 years old.
Can you tell us more about option agreements?
An option agreement is when you, if you haven't got the money, which I didn't, listen, I was skint. Even though I own some houses, you can be property rich and cash poor.
Yes.
It takes a lot of money to buy a house.
Of course it
does.
does.
So I was like stretching myself to the point of being broke. Even after I remember buying some houses when I was like 19, I was so broke, everyone was like, oh wow, Samuel's just bought his third house, 4th house. I'm driving a Ford KA that's running out of petrol, and I'm pushing it to the petrol station, having to beg my sister who's at school to lend me a £5 just to put enough money in to get home because my credit cards are maxed out. Like, I was skint.
Yes.
Skint. Mm-hmm. But a lease option agreement, so my first lease option agreement that I ever did when I was about 19, again, 19 years old, that was quite a good year for me. 18 was terrible, 19 was kind of good. There was a house that was trying to sell. It had been bought by the owner for 95 grand. It had dipped in value because of the 28 crash. He was in negative equity. So I said to him, look, I'll buy it off you, but I'll pay you in 7 years' time.
Wow.
There's no equity in the house anyway. So if I give you 100% of what you want, you're going to have to use all of that money to pay off the mortgage anyway, so you're left with nothing.
Yeah.
You want to get rid of the house? The house is a pain in the neck for you. Let me take it on an option agreement. I'll take on your mortgage payments. I'll become effectively the owner, but I'll buy it in 7 years for £81,000. So then he agreed. I got my contract drawn up. I got a restriction order on the property. I rented the property out. The mortgage payment was 145. I rented it out for 500. I'm making a few hundred pennies a month.
Yeah.
And doing okay. And now I've got the option to buy it down the line.
Brilliant.
Which of course I did.
Yes.
I own it still today.
So you own that property. So what did you do with the money? Did you carry on saving that money?
Yes,
and what else did you do alongside that?
I was still living with my mom. So I invested on courses, on programs. I got a mentor, Tony Crook, who still mentors me today.
Okay. And was that a paid mentor?
Yes.
Or okay.
£1,000 a month.
Right. Wow.
I couldn't afford it. My friends were laughing at me. What are you doing? Why are you paying £1,000 a month? And I was like, well, you're going to uni.
Was there any mentors on your journey that you just met, like in person, in life, along your journey that influenced you, apart from your mother or father?
My parents, 100%. I know your parents were a massive part of your journey.
Yes.
But I believe that if you don't pay, you don't pay attention. And my mentors, I paid. And even though I didn't have the money, and it stretched me and it hurt, I thought, I know the best investment I can make is actually not property. The best investment I can make is in me. So I went broke on investing in myself. I went on loads of courses, bro. Like anything in the UK that was property related.
Yeah.
A networking event, a seminar, I'll be there. Then they'd often sell me an advanced course. And I'm like, damn, not again. I would register.
Yes.
And I was like a sponge throughout those first few years in property. I was like a sponge. I was just learning everything. And a lot of what I learned was good. A lot was average. Some of it had agendas. But that combined with the experience of just doing it. Because if you're not doing something, you don't really know it. You can't sit in a classroom and learn something and then leave and go,
I know it.
I know it. No, you don't know it. You know the theory.
Yes.
But until you actually do it,
Exactly.
you can't truly know. So I think it was a combination of learning, but then doing, and I just absolutely fully immersed myself because I had nothing to lose.
Right. So now we're taking a step back. We're looking at your blueprint. You've gone from school to some side hustle jobs, some deal sourcing, some brokering deals. You've put deposits on a house, on a lease option. You've got a house, and I presume that you've done this a few times now.
Yeah.
Where are you at in your life now then, now that you've got a few houses, what next? So having properties is great. It's great having assets. It's something that's growing in the background, gives you a little bit of income on the side as well, but you've also got a little bit more freedom of your time. What is Samuel thinking now? Where's he going? What's his thought process? I've got something churning over here. What's next?
When I was 20, I was making about £6,000 a month, so I wasn't like rich, but as you say, I had free time, was doing okay. I signed up for Bible College, BBI, in Hagley Road in Birmingham. I spent 3 years full time at Bible College, which was for me something that I thought I've got time now.
Yeah.
I became a Christian when I was 16 years old, and I was quite involved in my church, and I just thought, you know what, let me into a new phase. So I spent 3 years at Bible College, and when it came to my dissertation, I did my dissertation in biblical economics. So I basically studied money, and I came to the conclusion that money is actually a really, really powerful tool. And it kind of, even though when I was at Bible College, I thought maybe I'll end up being a pastor or an evangelist or who knows what, I actually realised that my calling was to be an entrepreneur. I realised that I'm on the planet to be an entrepreneur, to make money, but to make it ethically and morally, and to help people, and then with that money to do things and to fund things, because there's so many people at Bible College and at my church that were like sponsoring, and they were like fundraising for projects, and I thought, I need to be able to write the checks. That's why I'm on the planet. So when I finished Bible College, when I was like 22, 23, I just went hard into property then. Yeah, cool, I had my backstory, I bought some houses, I'd be creative, but that was when I just went hard, and became a millionaire by 25. Most of that success was from packaging and selling deals, was from brokering deals.
Right.
Because I sold over 200 deals in about 18 months, and I was getting paid about £3,000 a pop.
Where were you finding these deals?
Estate agents.
Right, so you built relationship up with estate agents
I
and...
employed one. My favourite estate agent, a lady called Tanya. She was passing me loads of deals, and I thought, if she works just for me, then what's good? So I employed her. So she was like finding a lot of deals, and I was giving her a little bit of commission, and I was giving her a salary, and she was like just bringing me deals because she's an estate agent. She knew the area. She's got all links. She's getting off-market opportunities. She's bringing them to me, and I'm then passing them to all these business owners and these investors that I know, saying, "Hey, I've got this deal. This is what it is. What I want is £4,000. How would you like to pay?" Bang! I'm doing that 2 or 3 times a week. That was when I'm like, damn, this money now is life-changing. And I just put all of it into property. I invested all of it into property. I started buying, HMOs. I started partnering as well. So some of my investors.
Which areas was you starting
Wolverhampton,
Okay.
Warsaw, Birmingham. And this was just like traditional, like buying houses, renting them out. Then I'm thinking, maybe I need to recycle my money. That was when I started getting involved in doing refurbs.
Right.
My houses that I was buying, my HMOs, when Article 4 started coming into the areas, I get the grandfather rights, so the value shoots up.
Yeah.
So those few years for me was when I was just like absolutely crushing it. I was also doing on the side, I was running Training Kings, which I told you about, which is a Christian business network, which is for people in the church that felt like they wanted to be entrepreneurs but didn't have the support and were getting banged over the head being told to be on the Sunday school when they should be being released into the marketplace to be an entrepreneur. I'm like, come on down. So I'm running that non-for-profit. They're paying like £10. I'm feeding them and we're running seminars and training. That's kind of how I got into the whole training space. And my brand blew up. I started buying bigger deals. More recently, I've been doing development, so building houses and buying factories and commercial.
Doing a castle.
Castle, yeah.
In that castle. What I'm seeing and hearing with Samuel and his journey is the fact that he kept himself busy. He didn't allow himself to waste any time. He went from one hustle to another hustle, whether he was good, and when he wasn't that good at it, he would just broker somebody else into it. He didn't even have to be the best at deal sourcing. He just employed the right person. So all of that accumulated to you being successful is what I'm seeing. And you're making the best at your resources as well. So who thinks of going to church and then setting up a meeting with a group of people just to help entrepreneurs? But you were quite, forward thinking with all of that. Yeah. So I think that's quite inspiring. So I think we'll leave this bit at here and we'll join us back at part 2.